Welcome to another edition of A Closer Look with Gary Gulbranson, and I am Gary Gulbranson. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the connections in your life, the people connections in your life. I want you to think about the people who were instrumental in your coming to a knowledge of God. I love what the Apostle Paul said to Timothy. I guess I like going to Timothy because Paul wrote to this young man who was preparing to pastor a church, and I pastor a church, and sometimes I need to remind myself that God has established that place for me, and he's going to be there to help me along the way, and I can draw some of the same kind of wisdom that Paul was offering Timothy. But here's what Paul says about connections. He said, Timothy, I want you to be aware of this. He said, and the things that you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. Do you realize how many connections are in that little verse? Actually, for them. There were people who communicated to Paul, and he communicated to Timothy, and he encourages Timothy to share it with faithful men who will be able to teach others also. And you see this chain going on and on and on as truth gets passed from one generation to the next. So that's the way God designed it to be. But can you imagine what happens if part of that chain doesn't work? If somebody doesn't take seriously the responsibility of accepting the truth as they've received it and then passing it on to someone else? I just came back from some time away, a little bit of a vacation, and usually during vacation time, I catch up on some reading. Jory, my wife, catches up on a special kind of reading. She catches up by reading magazines. And she actually passed on an article to me that she thought would be helpful in a sermon someday. It was an article out of Good Housekeeping, a recent edition, that focused on a chain. In fact, it was a life chain. It was a story about a woman and her two boys who were sucked into a riptide down in South Florida. And there was a grandmother on the beach and a father and another sister in that family who all went out to rescue the rest of them, and they all got stuck as well. And then there were some people who helped from the shore, thought maybe they could help, and they wind up, there were eventually 9 people who were in danger of drowning. And then there was a young couple that said, I think we can solve this problem, but it's not going to be solved by us rushing out and trying to rescue them by ourselves. We need to form a chain. And so they invited some other people to lock arms with them. And before long, there were 50 people in that chain that went from up on the shore out into the water where the people were struggling and pulled them to safety. It's a powerful illustration of what the Apostle Paul was communicating to Timothy. I want to encourage you to be, not only think about the chain in your own life, and to perhaps be responsible to thank people who have had some influence in helping you know Christ. But I want you to think about where you fit in that chain for someone else, and maybe take seriously your responsibility to pass on the truth to them.